Before we start this video, a large thank you to Artem, Matt, and the Schemic for their support on Patreon. I hope you guys enjoy the video. And, as always, a massive thank you to Halo Burner and Ryan Bellin for their immense support to the channel this month on Patreon. It is sincerely appreciated, gentlemen, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello everybody, today we're going to cover crouching or sneaking, or do you want to call it? So we're basically going to make it so we can allow our player to enter the crouching state. So let's start by going into our input actions, and I'm just going to duplicate a button here, and I'm going to change it to sneak. I'm going to make sure it's set to button as the action type, and then I'm going to go down here to the button itself and make it the left stick press. So essentially what we're going to do is when we hit the left stick, or press it rather, we're going to cause our character to go from a standard locomotion set to a sneaking / crouching locomotion set. Alright, so let's go to the player input manager and set up the actual input. I'm going to copy and paste my jump input, and I'm going to change the word jump to sneak. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to find wherever I also have the input on our on enable. So I'm going to copy jump once more as soon as I see it, and it's right up here. So then we're going to change jump to sneak with a capital S, and then we're going to change jump input again to sneak input. So we're just copying the exact way we get this action, and when it's performed, we're going to change sneak input, the flag, to true. Alright, next under handle all inputs, I'm going to make a function name that doesn't exist yet. We're going to say handle sneak input, and I'm going to place this right below my handle jump input. I'm going to go to that by right clicking, saying go to definition. I'm going to copy and paste it, and I'm going to change the word jump to sneak, and once again I'm going to change if jump input false, to if sneak input false. So what do we do here? Well, honestly, all this is going to be, in terms of visual cue, is switching our locomotion from a standard upright running and walking to a crouched / sneaking running and walking. So we're going to set a sneaking flag to true in the network, and if it's already true, then we're going to set it to false, so you can enable and disable it by pressing sneak input, and that in turn is going to set an animator bool to whatever the status of your sneaking is. Also, we're going to not allow block. I don't think you can block while sneaking in Elden Ring. I could be mistaken though. So what we're going to do here right now is just say player.playerNetworkManager is blocking is equal to false if you press the sneak input. So set a sneaking flag to true on the network. So we need to basically make a flag for that on the player network manager. So let's just copy any of the bools here and paste it and change it to is sneaking. And actually, I'm going to put this in the character network manager too, because you might want some AI logic that lets them sneak or change their animation set into a crouching set. So just in case, put it on there. It doesn't hurt. It's simply a flag. If you're not going to use it, no big deal. And if you decide you want to use it way down the road, cool. All right, we're going to say is sneaking. And now we're going to go back over to the player network manager, and I'm going to make an on is sneaking changed. Now if you want to make this on the character network manager like the flag and override it, you can do that too, but since in this project I don't think I'll be making anything to do with characters that are AI sneaking, I'm just going to have the call here, but if you want to, go for it. So we're going to say bool old status and bool new status. And the benefit too of having is sneaking on the character network manager is you don't have to cast it as a player network manager if you're doing checks on general character network manager components. So we're going to say player.animator set bool is sneaking to true. Now this doesn't exist yet, or rather set it to whatever is sneaking is by saying is sneaking.value. So let's go ahead and make that animator bool real quick. I'm going to copy it exactly as it is. That way I do not actually mistype it. Now I'll highlight the player, so we go to his animator component. I'm going to go to parameters, add bool is sneaking, just like that. Cool, very good. Now let's go back into the player manager script, and let's go ahead and make sure we're calling this. Now you don't want to call it if you are the owner, you want to call it both. So don't call this inside the owner check. The reason being is because we have to make this animator flag update on your end, obviously, but also on your player's end in another player's game, so you appear crouching for them as well, or sneaking, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to say on is sneaking changed, on value changed plus equals player network manager on is sneaking changed. Do the same thing on despawn, but instead of saying plus equals, obviously say minus equals. You guys have done this like 3 dozen times by now, at least you know how this goes. All right, let's go over to the offhand melee action, because when we're setting is blocking to true, we also want to set is sneaking to false. I don't want to allow the player to block while they're sneaking. And if you want to do that, You can just go ahead and veto this part, skip it, entirely up to you. Maybe you have some animations where you're going to allow that, where you're in like a crouched block position, entirely up to you. So we're going to say is sneaking is equal to false. Cool. Fire projectile action. If I come down here, there's actually an animation where we draw the bow, but I'm going to add one where I'm drawing the bow sneaking because I will allow archery while I'm sneaking. So we're going to say if the player performing action dot player network manager is sneaking dot value, we're going to perform the sneak bow draw. Otherwise, we're going to do the regular bow draw. So I'm just going to copy and paste this here. And I'm going to basically add the keyword sneak in front of this bow draw. Okay, looks good. All right, let's save that. Let's go next to the character footstep maker. And the thing you want to do here is if you're sneaking, we're just going to not play the sound effect. And in the future too, I guess I didn't do this yet. I think I was going to, but I can make it so footsteps can alert AI characters if you run past them. So we can also make it so if you're sneaking, it doesn't do that. If you want to see that, please comment below. I'll do one on sound detection and investigating sound for the AI next video if you guys want to see that. But do leave a comment because at this point I'm taking requests pretty much because all the core mechanics of this they're there. So I'm open to any and all requests in whatever order you guys want to see this. And when we're done with that, we'll move on to a new series. So over here on Player Combat Manager, if we're the owner, we're going to say is sneaking is equal to false when we start doing a riposte. So you can't sneak while doing a riposte. As soon as you start doing it, turn off sneaking, and right there, just also enable your invulnerability, and do the same thing for backstab. And obviously, optionally, if you don't want to do this for backstab, if you just want to let the player go back into the sneaking animations automatically, then don't add this here if you don't want to. But I'm going to break sneak for a backstab as well. So we'll say sneaking is equal to false, and invulnerability is still equal to true. Making sure I'm doing that owner check. Okay, back on the player input manager, we forgot to put that here, or rather I did. Let's say player.player network manager is sneaking.value is equal to the opposite of whatever is sneaking is. So this makes it so when you toggle this, if you click it again, obviously it goes on, you click it again, it goes off. Well, it's going to go to the opposite, whatever it's set to. And I'll leave a comment here for that. So we're just going to say switch sneaking to the opposite of whatever it's set to, and then we can put a comment below saying disable blocking. And again, obviously, you don't have to do this verbatim. Whatever your project is, if you want to be able to block while you're sneaking, do it. If you have special animations for that, it's cool. If not, you could always do a layer where you just do the above torso while you're sneaking, and you can still use the regular blocking animations. Now, under handle sprinting in the player locomotion manager, if we are sprinting, we want to disable sneaking because you can't sprint while you're sneaking. So we're going to say player network manager is sneaking.value is equal to false. All right, now we're going to add a new movement set. So let's make this a bit cleaner. Instead of doing another if statement, what we're going to do is make a decoupled function for all of these. We're going to have move at regular speed, and then we're going to have move at sprinting speed and move at sneaking speed. And also as a bonus, I'm going to throw in some logic for you guys that if you want to, if you're locked on, you can actually move slower if you're running backwards. I believe Dark Souls and Elden Ring does this. I do it in Nephilim as well. So this is optional. You can toggle on or off if you want to. First thing we're going to say is if the player controller is not enabled, we're going to return. And then we're going to say if the player network manager is locked on .value and the vertical movement is less than minus 0.5f. So if you are locked on and you're running while locked on backwards, then we're going to reference a new form of movement. We're going to say player.charactercontroller.move direction times running backward speed. Then we're going to say times time.delta time. So again, what I do in Nef is I make it a little bit slower, then we're going to simply return. So if you're running backwards versus forward, you won't move as quickly. If you don't want to enable this, don't, just skip it. Otherwise, we can do the regular code that we had before up top, which we're going to replace. And that will be if the player input manager .instance .move input, whoops, not player UI manager. This is supposed to be player input manager .instance .move amount is greater than 0.5f. We know we're running. So we're going to say player.controller move direction times the running speed. Else if the player input manager.instance.move amount is less than or equal to 0.5f, we know that we are walking. Then we're going to move at the walking speed. So this is going to be run speed first. And then right below this, we are going to say walking speed. And now we can take this function, move at regular speed, copy it. We can go up to, is it under handle all movement? No, it's under handle grounded movement. And then right here where we have our move amount referenced, you can see this is our running speed and walking speed. We just delete all this and put this function here. It looks a lot neater, very much so easier to read at a first glance. So let's copy move at regular speed and paste it. And then we can say move at sprinting speed. And this one's very easy because the sprint check happens in the sprint logic. We just got to move the character by the sprinting speed. Just going to double check. Yes. So if the player is sprinting, we're just simply moving them by the sprinting speed. So I will copy this and then say move at sprinting speed. And then I will paste the sprinting speed in here. And we're just going to do a check for the controller being enabled again, just in case. There we go. Boom. Good. All right. Now the last one is move at crouching speed. So you could just say move at sneaking speed and have one speed like this. But of course, we want to also give the option for sneaking backwards, which will be a little bit slower if you're running backwards while sneaking than running forward while sneaking. So I will add the speed up here for sneaking. We're going to say sneaking speed, but we also need a sneaking running speed and sneaking walking speed. So let's just say sneaking walk speed. I'll say 1.1. Copy and paste that. Sneaking run speed. And then we're going to say that's going to be, we'll say 3. And you can change this. Obviously, it depends on what you're going for in terms of game feel. And then we will say sneaking run backward speed. And I'll say 2.8. Because you're kind of slow when you're sneaking anyway. You're not getting full speed in your run. And then for running speed, I will add running backward speed. And if my running speed is 5, I'll just say that's 4. There we go. Cool. Now we can basically copy the exact same logic in our move at regular speed. And I'm actually going to uncomment out this because I personally am a fan of it running a bit slower when you're kind of trying to back up. It also makes the game more interesting if you have a player who's locked onto an enemy and they're trying to get away. But, you know, they're kind of not thinking and they just don't unlock. So the enemy has a higher chance basically of catching up to you and closing the gap if you're moving slower. So let's just do the same thing, but replace running speed with sneaking speed. So we got sneaking backwards, then we got sneaking run speed, and then we got sneaking walk speed. And you could do this for walking too if you want walking backwards to be slower, but I find that usually a person can walk just as fast backwards as they can forward, but running is not the same. You can almost always run faster forward than backward. At least I don't know a single person who can run just as fast backwards as they can forward. All right, so now under the player.player network manager is sprinting.value, we're going to return, and then we're going to say if player.player network manager is sneaking, then we're going to say move at sneaking speed, return. And then if we pass all those, we're just going to simply say move at regular speed, and we can get rid of this else statement here, so it just looks just like this. And that looks a lot nicer, I think. That's great. All right, let's save that. Very good. Now let's go up here. Let's go to the character network manager, and now we need a second flag. Now why do we need a second flag? Well, the is sneaking determines if you're attempting to sneak, which is your animation set, but is hidden determines if someone sees you. Why is this important? Well, you only get the benefits of sneaking, like not being able to be seen by an enemy from so far away, if you are not caught by any other enemy right now. So the hidden stat will determine if somebody sees you, and for that we need to keep track of characters that are currently targeting you. So go to your character combat manager and make a list, and I'm going to call this list characters currently targeting me, or rather for short, characters targeting me, and equalize that as a new list of character managers. So basically every time a character is targeting you, we're going to add that person to this list. So if you get spotted by 4 enemies in the game, your list of characters targeting me will be comprised of those 4 enemies who currently have you in their sights. Now, under server RPC, let's make a server RPC, require ownership equal to false, because you want a person to be able to basically trigger this when they spot you on their end. And then we're going to say public virtual void add character to list of characters targeting me, server RPC. And then we're going to make that require an oolong character targeting me ID. You want to call it character targeting me network object ID because that's what it really is, but we'll just call it character targeting me ID. Then we're going to say if is server, and we're going to run a client RPC. So we're going to copy and paste this function, change the keyword server to client, and I forgot to add server RPC to the end. Let's add client RPC to the end, then go up and add server RPC to the end of this one, and let's delete the require ownership call and let's just call this function under the server RPC. So what are we doing here? Well, we want to simply get this character from a spawn network list, and if it exists, we want to add it to the list of characters that are currently targeting this character. And if you're the owner and no one is targeting you, then isHidden is true, and if more than one person is targeting you, then isHidden is false. So we're going to say if the network manager.singleton.spawn objects does not contain the key, the oolong for character targeting me ID, return. Otherwise, we're going to say character manager, character targeting me, is equal to network manager.singleton.spawn objects. Then we're going to say character targeting me ID dot get component character manager. And then we're going to say if character targeting me is equal null for some reason, well, return. Okay, what if we pass all the null checks? Then we do one last check to see if this person is already on the list. And we're going to do that by saying if the character.character combat manager.characters targeting me does not contain this character, we're going to simply add them to that list. Okay, so after we add them to the list, we have to do a check, a null check, as this is a multiplayer game and objects can despawn or get removed. We want to look for any null entries in that list and remove them. So we're going to do that by saying a for loop, and then we're going to iterate through the characters targeting me.count. And then if we find a null entry, we're just going to remove at that null entry. So we're going to say if character combat manager characters targeting me I is equal to null, we're going to say characters targeting me remove at I. Okay, lastly, we need to check for the owner here now because this is, again, a client RPC, so it's going to be called on your game object everywhere. If you're not the owner, return. If you are the owner, however, we're going to say if combat manager characters targeting me count is greater than 0, well, we know that character network manager isHidden must be false because somebody sees you. Okay, cool. So I'm going to copy this server RPC call, and we're going to go over to set targets on the character combat manager, and right under the part where it says if you're the owner and the new target is not equal null, on the new target we're going to say new target character network manager, then we're going to add characters to a list of characters targeting me and pass this character's network object ID. So basically, whenever you find a target, you're calling that server RPC from their game object. Let's make the client RPC private because it doesn't need to be public. And then I'm protected because we're making it virtual, so it must be protected. And then I'm going to save this, and we're going to come down here because likewise, if somebody is on this list, then we're not hidden, but if nobody is on this list, so if it's less or equal to 0, then we'll set this to true. But now we're going to reuse this logic when we begin crouching too, so instead of copying and pasting it twice, let's copy it all, and we're going to make it its own function. So let's jump over to the character combat manager, and wherever you see fit, make a function and call it something similar to, or exactly as, check for hidden status. And we're just going to copy and paste the for loop that removes all null entries. And then we're going to check the count of characters targeting you. And if it's 0, you are hidden. If not, then you're not. And now, instead of having all this, let's delete it all right up to where we're adding the character to the list, and we'll call check for hidden status. But obviously, we got to say character.character combat manager. And the other place you want to call this is immediately after you begin crouching. And a good place to call this too would be if a character is despawned, so on network despawn, you can look through all the list of characters that they're targeting, or rather the one character they're targeting, and then make that character call this check again. So that way if you have a character that gets deleted or despawned in the scene, or you run at the bounds of the area, and the list becomes null entry, you update that list for them. So we'll cover that in the next video, as well as covering the benefits of this and the animation setup. So in the next video, what we're going to do is set up the sneaking animations themselves and the animation states. We'll go over things like where this is actually going to be beneficial in terms of the detection radius of a character, because I'll be honest, in Elden Ring, sneaking is kind of bare bones. It doesn't do a whole lot of stuff, but I can show you what you can do with it, and we'll cover what Elden Ring does with it as well. Okay guys, thank you very much for being here. Thank you to my patrons for keeping my lights on. Thank you to the people who share this series via word of mouth, who take the time to leave a like and comment on the video. The channel genuinely exists because of you. You have my sincerest gratitude. Now, we are getting very close to the end of this series. There's a few more things I'm going to do, but if you have requests, like I said, and they're related to the series, now's the time to go ahead and voice them, because if not, I'm going to start winding down soon and preparing for the next series. I'm thinking before that though, I'm going to make a mock-up little small area and actually just go through and then kind of do like an end of the series showcase of just a little area I've made within the project using all the stuff that we've set up. At any rate, that's all from me for now. I will see you guys next week, unless you're watching my second series, in which case I will see you tomorrow. Have a lovely weekend.